Program. Joining us now for more about Trump, about what's going on in France, we have a Trump supporter and former candidate for U.S. Congress, Lorenzo Palomeres. Lorenzo has been Trump's spokesperson to the Latin community in Miami. Also joining us, community activist, writer, analyst, and commentator Raul Mas. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us here on Newsmax Prime. Pleasure to have you. We only have a few minutes remaining, but we're going to have you both stick around after the break. But first, Lorenzo, I want to get your reaction to what you just saw in France.
Well, I think I'm going to borrow something from my good friend here, that this is an assault truck instead of an assault rifle, and massive. What's happening in France, I've been in that city. I love the city. Nice is one of the most beautiful cities I've visited. And I'm very sorry. I mean, the world is turning. It's like this gentleman was just saying. If we don't really act promptly, we're going to get overwhelmed and we're going to be run over. There's something about radical Islam that is, first of all, is not religion.
Well, we don't know yet. We want to be clear that we still don't know what prompted this attack, but I understand where you're going with that.
Well, yeah, man, and they're going to, they hate our way of life, and that's the bottom line.
Well, a lot of people agree with you. Raul, do you agree with that? 30 seconds.
Yeah, listen, I mean, this is by and large the definition of asymmetric warfare, right? I mean, it's basically one individual with a massive truck killing 70 individuals. It has all the hallmarks of an ISIS attack. In fact, they've been calling for people to do precisely this. In fact, they wrote about it a couple years ago in their Inspire magazine. So I have little doubt that at the end of the day, this will in fact be linked to a terrorist attack.
Really?
And it's the bold new reality that we're facing. I mean, this is what's happening in the world today. It's a huge security issue.
73 people and 100 injured in Nice.
A huge security issue.
Just plowed right through the crowd. We're going to continue to monitor that story. Gentlemen, we're going to ask you to stick around. We have much more to come. We're going to talk about Trump's possible VP pick. Pence, it doesn't really seem like a secret anymore. You're watching Newsmax Prime. We'll be right back.
It's no secret I'm a big fan of Mike Pence's. We're very good friends. I have very high regard for him. I hope that he picks a good movement conservative. Clearly, Mike is one of those. But there are other good people that he's considering as well. And I, just like you, don't know what he's going to do, and I hope he makes a good pick, and clearly that would be a good one.
And a lot of people are agreeing with him. That was House Speaker Paul Ryan. He was asked earlier today about a potential Trump-Pence ticket for the GOP. That official announcement, again, supposed to be happening tomorrow at 11 o'clock, but that's been postponed in light of recent events that have been going on in Nice, France, with the attack there. So many people are asking, will other people jump on board and follow Ryan's lead? Well, Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is doing that. He also is for a Pence-Trump ticket. Rejoining us now, Lorenzo Palomeres, former candidate for U.S. Congress. Lorenzo has been Trump's spokesperson, right, for the Latin community in Miami. Also back with us, Raul Mas. How many titles do we have? What is it? Community activist, writer, analyst, commentator. Yes, you do many things. Thank you, gentlemen, for sticking around. Want to get your reaction now to a possible Pence-Trump ticket, because we have to say possible. It hasn't been official.
I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. I think Mr. Trump is going to do it in his Trump way, and you'll see that tomorrow. I think Mr. Pence, I'm surprised because I thought it was going to be somebody else.
Really? Now, who did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be Newt.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that.
Newt made a lot of sense because he's been there before, and even though Pence has been there, but with Mr. Congressman Pence or Governor Pence, and now maybe
he was a congressman before. He was
Vice President Pence brings in, he was supporting the really conservative platform of Ted Cruz, and then he also supported Marco Rubio. So he's the right kind of.
Does he complement him?
I think so. I think both of them complement, and I think you'll see Newt somewhere else if it's not Newt. And the same thing with Christie. I think Christie will make a tremendous attorney general. You won't see him in no airplane.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people thought that, obviously the big giveaway was that, you had Christie and you have Newt Gingrich are supposed to be speaking at the GOP convention, and
Yes.
Pence wasn't on the list, and then we saw all these news organizations pulling video Pence, so it was kind of like a poorly kept secret. Raul, you've been following this closely.
Yeah.
Is this a smart move for Trump? Is this going to help him gain more
I think
supporters?
what you mentioned, I think it is complementary from the standpoint that, in Mike Pence, you have somebody who is obviously, with the exception of some of these issues that you alluded to earlier in your reporting, with the religious freedom and some of these things, where he's pretty solidly in the conservative camp, so it's definitely going to help the campaign from that perspective. But I think also, what Lorenzo alluded to. I mean, here's a gentleman who basically has been in Congress, who's been governor of a major state, has executive experience,
Foreign policy experience
as a result of his time in Capitol Hill as well. So he's a very well-rounded candidate, experienced in policy matters, and Trump himself has mentioned on several occasions that he understands that policy is important, and I think Pence brings that sort of experience and obviously a good relationship with Paul Ryan in terms of getting
important.
things
That's
done.
very important.
Right.
Is going to be critical for
Can
successful.
you help unify the party? Is what you're
Absolutely.
saying? Well,
I would have preferred Newt Gingrich myself, but if it's Mike Pence, that's who it'll be.
Well, Angela from Charlotte, North Carolina likes the Angela from Charlotte, North Carolina likes the idea of a Pence-Trump ticket. She joins us now live on Newsmax Prime. What's your question or comment, Angela?
Well, basically, my comment is that as far as having experience with policy, which is needed for the Congress and the Senate, because they have a problem of appropriation of status as far as their values and the policy. They'd be able to pretty much, before elections, get the public a guarantee as far as having their oath supported by basically being incorporated into the policies, not as failed.
All right. Angela, thanks so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you. Now, Senator Marco Rubio, in an interview with CNN, explained why he changed his mind about running for Senate re-election. Shocker?
No, I'm not shocked.
Changed my mind, and I changed my mind because, number one, I never said I was perfect or I had every answer. And when you're not perfect and you don't have every answer, there will come times where you change your mind. But number two is because I honestly believe that no matter who's elected president, we're going to need a Senate full with people willing to act as a check and balance on the excesses of the next president.
Now, according to a Quinnipiac University poll, Rubio is favored to win. The poll found Rubio leads Patrick Murphy 50-37. Rubio also leads Alan Grayson 50-38%. It's no big surprise. Florida is pretty much a must-win, right,
Without a
for
doubt.
any presidential election. Why didn't he pick? Now, you both said Newt Gingrich is who you wanted, but
Yes.
why didn't he pick Marco Rubio, Lorenzo?
He said he didn't want it. From the
I know,
get-go,
he did,
from
he
the
did.
get-go, he said, "I don't want it," and it was a contentious race. And frankly, I honestly like Marco as a senator. I think losing Marco and the Senate would have meant turning over that seat to Patrick Murphy, and I mean that sincerely. And Marco's been a great senator. Maybe he ran too soon, maybe not. You never second guess somebody who wants to do good for the country, and I think he's a likable guy. He's been an excellent senator and a likable human being. So I'm all for it. He's got my unconditional support.
Raul?
I think he was under enormous pressure from the party to run for the Senate. I mean, regardless of what happens at the presidential level, it would be a disaster if we now start losing control of the Senate, control of the House,
Right.
some of these valuable seats that we have. So I think he was under enormous pressure. I mean, Marco was not very happy as a United States Senator. I mean, he
made that abundantly clear,
Yeah,
which I'm...
But obviously there was enough pressure put on him
Right.
to sort of reconsider. And hey, listen, the economy's tough. It's a steady paycheck, and you got a good pension with it if you stay long enough. So why not?
And he was able to sort of get together with the other side, and they put together that what I think he and I would say was not the greatest idea for a young politician in terms of his policies on immigration, but he got to work with the other side, and it's important that you have bipartisan support sometimes and be able to chat and discuss and respect the other party as well. That's called democracy, and I think he has shown an ability to do that.
All right, Bud from Missouri joins us live on Newsmax Prime. Bud, how are you?
I'm well, Miranda, and
Good.
you?
Doing well. What's your question
Well,
or comment?
You're sounding great and looking great.
Well-
I don't want to take a lot of time, but I got to tell you, I'm a age old. I'm 80 years old. I've been a Republican since I graduated from high school, although I couldn't
Well,
vote
you
at
don't
the time.
sound 80, Bud. You sound young, live, and well.
Well, I'm a well and alive 80. My wife says happy, healthy, and fun to be with. But
Oh, well, that's good. Happy wife, happy life, right? So you like the idea of a Trump ticket.
I like the idea of a Trump ticket.
What about a Trump-Pence ticket?
Trump-Pence would be a great ticket because I think Pence could probably be a very subtle attack dog, and that would balance the ticket pretty well. But my real beef is these, quote, Republicans, unquote, who do all that they can to submarine our candidate. I would like for them to shut up and be sweet and vote against Mrs. Clinton.
There you go.
That's my beef, okay?
All right. Bud, thanks so much for joining us. Do you think he brings up a good point there?
Absolutely.
Do you think this will help the Never Trump movement with Pence if he does, in fact, join the Trump-Pence?
Frankly, I think the Never Trump movement comes from the left side and not the Republican Party. I think, yes, we had establishment candidates that have been there forever, and we still do in South Florida at least. We have some that have been there for 20-some years, and they really need to move on. But the establishment candidate is correct me if I'm wrong, but it's on its way out.
Well, you know, another thing, we only have a few minutes remaining, so I want to make sure that we get this in. Donald Trump says that, you know, you've heard this over and over again, that he's confident that he can win the Hispanic vote in general election. Let's look and listen to what he told, in fact, CNN's Anderson Cooper last year.
And what I'm going to do for the Latinos is I'm going to be able to create jobs. I'm going to take jobs from China. I'm going to take jobs, from Mexico, from Japan, where they're sending in millions of automobiles all the time and we get nothing out of it. I'm going to take jobs back and bring them back into the country. And the Latinos are going to be able to work and make good money. They're going to vote for me. And I'll tell you what, I will take them away from Hillary Clinton.
Now, he says that, okay, but the latest poll that was conducted by Univision says that 67% support Clinton, while only 19% support Trump. Raul, are you surprised at all by those numbers?
The numbers themselves don't surprise me, but I think people are missing an important element here, which is I think at the end of the day, this election boils down to certain key states, and Florida being one of them, okay? Right. And here in Florida, obviously, you have a large Cuban-American population in the Miami area, but you also have a very large Puerto Rican community up in the Orlando area that has established itself over many, many years. And if you look at what's happened in Puerto Rico these last couple of months, I mean, the place is basically a disaster. Right. It's completely broken. There's no jobs. People are fleeing Puerto Rico, coming to Florida. And I think, you know what, at least in Florida, Puerto Ricans, Cuban Americans may very well vote for Trump.
We're going to talk more. Lorenzo, I want to get your reaction. I don't want to cut you off short, but stick around after the break. I want to get your reaction to what you just saw with those latest poll numbers. And we're going to talk about some of those other key states that we mentioned Florida, but there are a few more. We'll be right back. You're watching Newsmax Prime.
I'm Hispanic and I vote for Mr. Trump. We vote for Mr. Trump. Yes, Mr. Trump. We love you. We love you all the way to the White House.
And that was, remember that? That was Miriam Witcher earlier this year during a campaign rally in Nevada, running on stage to proclaim, as you just heard, her love for Donald Trump as an Hispanic voter. But many Latinos don't share those same sentiments, and that's something Hillary Clinton is using to her advantage. Let's take a look and listen to her latest attack.
Next week in Cleveland, they will nominate someone who thinks Latino outreach is tweeting a picture of a taco bowl.
Remember, you can join the conversation. Give us a call at 1-877-NEWSMAX. Again, that number to call is 1-877-639-7629, and let your voice be heard. Now, for more, we are rejoined once again by Lorenzo Palomeres, former candidate for U.S. Congress. Lorenzo has been Trump's spokesperson for the Latin community in Miami. Also back with us, Raul Mas, community activist, writer, analyst, and commentator. Gentlemen, Thank you for all your time this
Thank you
evening.
for
I
having
really
us. Very
appreciate
much.
it.
We're honored to be here.
We've been peppering you with tons of topics.
Yes.
Lorenzo, when we left off, we were talking about the Hispanic vote and that particular
I'm very
poll.
skeptical about that particular poll 67. Where did they take it? In East LA? Because Univision markets their brand of television south of the border. And that's their mass market, and it's perfectly fine, and that's what their model or business model is. But
So when you're saying that, you're saying is that we look at like Hispanics as like everybody's Hispanic and everybody's the same, and what you're saying is Puerto Ricans are different
totally
from people of Mexican descent.
Without a
and
doubt.
different
And Venezuelans,
Cubans, as you
and
said,
Venezuelans
Raul.
are very much
Right.
different than we are. And as you go through Latin America, the changes in culture are tremendous. I mean, they all have some form of Spanish speaking form, and they have their own dialects themselves. So they got their slangs but I think the Puerto Ricans are going to make big Trump votes in Florida. I think that I've lived in Puerto Rico for some time. I practiced law there, and I can tell you that they're sick of illegal immigration, and the Yolas are showing up on their shores, and they're taking jobs from Puerto Ricans that are looking for jobs. The good people in Puerto Rico are having to leave because of the crisis, the economic crisis that Puerto Rico is going through.
But clearly, you work for Trump's campaign in Miami. Raul, you live in Miami. Trump clearly has his work cut out for them. Even if this poll is a little off, he does.
Without a doubt.
What does he need to do differently?
Listen, I think he needs to accentuate. First of all, I think he needs to tone down a lot of the rhetoric that quite frankly turned me off very early on during the primary.
Right, because you were.
I was not, and
Your
Lorenzo
wife was,
knows
though.
this.
We've
Your wife was right. Yeah,
debated.
did you?
We
Okay.
debated.
Lorenzo knows this. I'm not a Trump fan. I haven't been. But you know what? Unlike many of my fellow Republicans, I believe he won fair and square.
Right.
And I think, you know what, he's now the candidate of the party. We close ranks and we support our nominee. Okay? I mean, I've no question about that. And to me, the idea that we would do anything other than get him elected and have the opportunity to have Hillary replace Obama in the White House would be an absolute disaster. Okay,
Right.
Especially on the Supreme Court, and especially what you just saw with Ruth Bader Ginsburg talking
As an
about,
attorney, I can
Which
tell you.
Rubio actually defended Donald Trump with that,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. I mean-
and Justice Ginsburg has apologized since then. Probably,
But that's
a little
not
too
enough.
late.
I think she needs to resign.
well, but you know.
All right, real quickly, we do want to talk about, because we mentioned Florida as being a key state for the general election. Let's talk about some of the other key states in the general election. Donald Trump, as you see, is leading Hillary in a lot of those states.
Yes.
Right there. Ohio, they're tied. Pennsylvania, Trump leads with 41%. Is this good news for him? Is he going to continue this trend, Lorenzo?
I think so. In Florida, you're going to see, right now we're up five points, and I think by the end of the convention, you're going to see it at 7 or 8, 9, 10.
Right.
And Florida has determined several presidencies.
Well, we'll have to see what happens.
So we'll see what happens now, and we were one of the last ones to close last time.
Gentlemen,
and
thank you both for running out of time, but it was a pleasure to have
Same
you. We had a
here.
lot to
Anytime.
discuss tonight.